This is September 7th, 2011, and the Claymates at City of Clay had requested that I do a review of ClayShapers. These are ClayShapers, and this is actually a color shaper. This is what some artists use to like push paint around. It's a rubber tip as opposed to a silicone tip. See how the silicone tip bends more than the rubber tip? And this one has a chisel. Not a chisel, what is that? What is that called? It ain't a rhombic dodecahedron, that's what I know. But anyway, it has one of these dealies on this end of this particular color shaper. The rest of these are ClayShapers, and they have silicone tips and makes them very soft and also easily breakable. So if you have a big bunch of clay to move around, use a big tool. If you have little fine details to do, use a smaller tool. And there's a couple of uses that I use the ClayShapers for a lot, and the main one is in sculpting faces. And I'm going to make a face that's a little larger than the ones that I usually make. I usually do 1 inch scale, which is 1 inch in real life means it's 1 inch in miniature is 1 foot or 12 inches in real life, and this would be a very big head. Nobody's head is like 2 feet long from from the forehead to the chin. But let's just goof around here. No focus. Okay. What I find handy in sculpting faces is to start out with a grid. So I just put a very I put a line down the center of the face, roughly center, and this is roughly midway. Okay. This is the eye. This is the eye line, and where you put the pupils would be halfway between the side of the face and the center of the face. Okay, that's a pupil. That's a pupil. The nose goes halfway, the end of the nose goes halfway down from the middle point of the center line. The hairline goes halfway to the top of the head. This head has not enough forehead. And then the lower lip goes again halfway from the bottom of the nose to the chin, and the chin has not been really well defined. Faces also have a lot of V's in them. V's meaning the side of the nose is a V, right? Cheekbones, they're a V, okay? Eye socket, another V. Side of the mouth, another V. Underneath the mouth, another V. And then let's just like bring up the nose. So this large ClayShaper tool, I'm moving a larger amount of clay to get the general shapes that I need for the face. There you go. That doesn't look like a face. Yeah, well, neither does an embryo. It's an interesting concept called ontogeny recapitulates phylogeny, and it says that the changes that a fetus goes through in the womb replicates the changes that organism has gone through an evolution. So, you know, we have gills, we have a tail, we have fur, all that stuff disappears by the time we're born. And then a very interesting fellow, Eric Newman, wrote The History and Origins of Consciousness. And he says there's an ontogenetic process in cultures. Some cultures, well, that all cultures have a development cycle, like a human being has a development cycle. So some cultures are like 2-year-olds throwing tantrums, and some cultures are adolescent, and some cultures are like old folks, you know. And Carl Jung wrote the intro to Histories and Origins of Consciousness, and if you're interested in such stuff, I recommend you read it. And if you're not, then you can just note that I'm just rolling the ClayShaper over this somewhat embryonic face that does not have enough chin. We need chin. Chin is good. And chin turns into jawline. There we go. So we're just getting what I call the major mounds of the face. Okay. So funny, it's like most of the faces that I sculpt left to my own devices. If I'm not sculpting somebody who looks like somebody, you know, like a known celebrity or something, all my faces end up looking Asian, and that's because I was raised by a Japanese mother and really left to my own devices, so I don't have anything particular in mind. I always end up sculpting my mom's face. Funny about that. Okay, so now we have the basic mounds of the face. Okay. Then we can go in with a smaller tool to get more definition, but we don't want to use the smaller tool to move large mounds of clay about, because we're just getting the shapes organized. Okay, I'm just going to do one side of the face. Now, so this is even a smaller tool. There we go. Let's open up the eye. Like that. Let's make a nostril here. So, I mean, this isn't going to be like a super gorgeous face or anything, but I'm just sort of like showing you how I use these tools. The wedge, and for our Monty Python fans, the large. No, it's just the wedge. So, she needs a little, or he needs a little more forehead. So that's just from the profile here. We can see the beginnings of a face. High cheekbones, because I'm Asian and everybody has high cheekbones around my eyes. Okay, so that's how I use ClayShapers. It's not a, I mean, it's a really 12 minutes worth of sculpting. Oh, ears. Here's the nose line, okay? This is the top of the head, going down. That's where the ear is going to be located. Here's the nose line. That's the bottom of the ear. Here's the eyebrow line. That's the top of the ear. Boink, boink, boink. Like that. And then you will get the ear in the right place. A lot of people end up, and also the ear, the end of the lobe of the ear should get to be at the top of the jawline. Okay? If you don't put your ears on your figures in the right places, they look just a little ridiculous. Yeah, there we go. Give him a little bit of an ear. I can hear you. Yes, but will you comply? That's the question. Okay. So, he ain't beautiful. But hey, 13 minutes. What can you expect? And see, this is where this is just getting the mounds together, and then we start making definition. With time, it may look beautiful. But right now, he's just an example of what you can do with these here ClayShapers. I'll show you some other examples, like this little puppy makes nice fingernails. Yikes! I got a fingernail on the back of my head. That has to be in another video. Doink. There we go. 14 minutes.